Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Unique Items. Today we're going to be going over another Path of Exile 2 Unique, and this is the Bramblejack Rusted Cuirass. It's actually a really simple unique item, but does have some interesting connotations. Let's go over the stats first, and then we'll talk about some of the other stuff. So first off, it has 50 to 80 maximum life. 80 is a pretty decent amount of maximum life. It is a lower level piece of equipment, so you see it's only armor 45. It does have 60 to 100 to stun threshold. So stun threshold is basically your threshold for being stunned, and having a huge amount of stun threshold will make it so that you don't get stunned as easily. Then we have the crazy effect at the bottom here, which is 250% of melee damage. So it does have to be melee, which is gonna suck. So any projectiles these attacks create do not count as melee. If it's, I'm assuming spells and projectiles are probably completely, obviously avoided those. But it does say 250% of melee physical damage taken is reflected to the attacker, which is kind of crazy. So it's basically built around you just kind of setting up for getting a beat down. You probably use this on like a high armor class so that you don't have to, actually I don't really even know. I'm not entirely sure if your armor rating would reduce the physical damage and then therefore also reduce the amount of reflection back to the attacker. You could potentially use this with like a Thorns build to like double up on the amount of damage that's going back to the attacker. It does have to be physical, which limits it rather severely in my eyes. It is safer to be feared than to be loved. I'm literally just trying to rack my brain at thinking about how you would potentially set this up. And let's do some research, and let's see if we can figure out how we could potentially get this working. Alright, so the general idea with this particular piece of armor is to get hit, right? So like we want to get hit, which would pretty much rule out evasion, because you want the monsters to smack you in the face. Evasion grants a chance to avoid enemy strikes or projectiles. Yeah. Armor. Armor reduces the physical damage you take from both attacks and spells, but provides no benefit against other damage types. Exact damage reduction depends on the damage dealt, but cannot go higher than 90. Chance to block incoming strikes and projectiles, causing them to deal no damage. Some larger and more dangerous enemy attacks cannot be blocked. So, in Diablo 2, something like this, or rather, like a reflection of damage, is usually going to be based on the amount of damage that you take. Now, I don't know exactly how we could potentially test this. I mean, I'm assuming we could just simply put it on. And let's go outside and let's actually see if we can do a little bit of testing with this. We're going to have to get like one monster to just wail on us. And, we're gonna have to see how much damage they take. Eat this! I said one, please. Man, he definitely did take a decent amount of damage. Wow, okay. Looks like he's taking about like 5% of his HP and damage per strike. It's kind of impressive. I wonder if I take off some of my armor, because I've got 242 armor on my helmet. I've got 62 armor on my boots. I wonder if I take off some of my armor and bring my armor damage reduction down, will it increase the amount that they take from me? Let's go see if we can find another one of these and see how much damage they deal now that I've reduced my armor value. Doesn't seem like more. I mean, it is an impressive amount of damage, and it could be very interesting on a build that is having trouble, like getting cornered and stuff. Like maybe you're not particularly strong against large packs, it does seem like that it works relatively effectively to kill targets around you. I'm just not entirely sure if the armor, like me reducing the armor, was actually giving me more damage or anything. Let's put my armor back on. I mean, if I had to say, like, right off the bat whether or not it seems to be doing more or less with armor, like, I can't see, obviously, the damage numbers, but I want to say yes. Like, just looking at it from here, it looks like when I have a lower armor value, it does seem to be doing more in reflection. I mean, that's a fairly large hit. Let's put my armor back on. And maybe I'm just imagining it. I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, if it does work with obviously having really high armor value, then the general gist of the idea would be to increase your armor and become as tanky as you possibly could. So that, of course, the monsters are reflecting damage back, but you're taking none in return. If it doesn't work when you have large values of armor, then the general idea is the opposite, which is you would want to have, you know, a particularly large amount of, or a particularly zero amount of armor, like a raw sponge type deal. I just don't really think it would be good to build around this if it was the other way around. So if it does require low armor to get the highest effect, then I don't think that's going to be very good. And that's really just because it doesn't work versus ranged attacks. It doesn't work versus projectiles. It doesn't work versus spells that are projectiles. It does work versus... No, it doesn't even work versus spells that are physical, because it specifically states melee physical damage. All in all, I don't know. Like, it could be very interesting for a character that's getting overwhelmed a lot. Like, if you're a character that just seems to get overwhelmed and you get pushed into corners by large groups of monsters, and you can't really deal with all of them at once, this could be an interesting way to prevent that. I'd also be interested to see how it works in combination with a shield. You know what? I don't necessarily have a shield, but maybe we can buy a shield? I believe Oswald up here sells shields.
Aye.
Okay, let's try this real quick. It says it gives me skill raised shield, so let's put this on real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to see if blocking an attack,
Not a good idea.
specifically, still allows us, because blocking attacks are supposedly supposed to completely prevent damage. You know, when you hold your shield up, you just completely prevent damage. And this could be interesting just to check and see if, when the monsters attack us with our shield up, are they still taking damage?
Weak animal.
So, I think the answer is no. It doesn't look like they take damage at all if I have my shield up. So maybe that pretty much proves it. If you don't take damage, you can't reflect anything. Unfortunate. Stay frosty, my friends. Anyway, as always, I do appreciate you guys and gals watching my video. This is definitely an interesting item, but I'm not really sure if I'd want to build a character around it. Be sure to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoy the content. And as always, keep watching.